Welcome back to Useful Entertainment. Oh man, get ready. Welcome to an episode of a game I like to call Musical Wheels. And it's going to be a big episode. Oh, well, it might not be that big, but the game of Musical Wheels is going to be big. Some of you guys saw my videos a couple years ago. We went down to Ocean City for Cruise Week. That was back in 2019, and I didn't go last year because with the Rona and all that, we didn't think it was going to be that big of a turnout, so we just kind of blew it off and we're like, let's sit this one out. But we're going to go down this year because I had a good turnout last year. Go figure. So, the only car we're going to take down is the Wagon, because I'm not driving that because I don't trust that car further than I can throw it, being that it's got 260-something thousand miles on it and it still runs. And honestly, we're going down to Cruise Week to hang out with a bunch of cool cars. That's not exactly, it's pretty boring. So we're gonna take this because it's reliable and, you know, it's a family car and it works. So the tires on this car are about 5 years old. They're gonna be 5 years old in June, and one, they've never been a good tire. Dad put them on the car in a hurry right when we bought the car because it needed tires. The ones that were on it didn't hold any air. And now they have next to no tread left on them, which isn't good. And when I say they weren't a good tire, I mean these things get no traction in the rain. I can't tell you how many times we've slid to a stop in the rain, and oh man, when these things slide to a stop, they don't sound like a normal car tire you've heard in the past 25 years. Sounds like some car chase shit out of like Bullet, French Connection, 7-Ups. They just, and the footprint is not wide on these tires. I think they're 235s, 235 60 15, some shit like that. I can't see in the sun's not, there it is, 235 75 15, and they are just not wide. They're tall, but that's all you got. That's their whole footprint to the ground. They've already been rotated a couple years ago, so they're done. And these wheels, they were nice back in the day. They were top of the line Buick mags, blah blah, whatever. They're pretty boring now in today's day and age, and they're not wide enough to accept a tire much wider than what's on here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put on this set of keystones, and it should liven things up. They're 15 by 8s, deep dish in the back, skinnies in the front, and yeah, what's on it is just boring. And boof ass white wall tires. It just looks like another boring car in traffic. But a little history on these keystones. I'll be with you in a second. These keystones are getting pretty roached. The back ones are in a lot better shape than the front ones. Reason being, the front ones sat out in the weather a lot more than the rear ones did. History. My dad bought these wheels brand new in '79 when he bought a brand new '79 Cordoba. And this is what it looked like. That's when he bought them 42 years ago. So yeah, that car ended up seeing the body shop I think 5 or 6 times in under the year that he owned it, due to being a young kid with a car that doesn't handle. And finally the car got totaled at 20,000 miles after it pushed a tractor trailer 8 feet up the highway in the middle of the night with no lights on. Truck had no lights on, sitting in the middle of the lane, pow. Car got totaled. So my uncle went to the junkyard and got the wheels off the car, and he put them on this 75 Fury, as you can see right here. Sunlight sucks. But that was a 75 Fury, and that's what they made it onto. Then my uncle ended up selling the Fury, and he put them on his 59 Olds. We had a 59 Olds convertible, That's what it looked like in 81. And that's what it turned into, sitting in a storage, like in a lean-to shed, probably since like 2000 to 2010. It's got the wheels on it right there. They're hard to see, but they're there, and they're really roached. So what I did was I took them off that Olds, and oh, by the way, yeah, the Olds went from sitting in that shed like that, and it ended up turning into that car right there. I'm glad I sold it to the right guy that restored it the way it should have been. But anyway, when I took them off the Olds before I sold it, I stuck them on my 86 Camaro, the trailer park edition one that I had. And they look pretty good right there. You know, for putting deep dish keystones on your redneck Camaro. Then the Camaro got wrecked, and it sat outside for years. But the back wheels, we took the back wheels off right away, and we put the factory wheels on. But then the car sat outside for another, like, 4 or 5 years with just the front tires sitting in constant rain, snow, summer weather. So here they are now. Tires are no good. And the rear tires that are on these rims right here came off of that car, I think, in 84. Dad bought the Trans Am new in 80. And no, I think he put these on the car in 84. But then he took them back off and stored them. So I ended up running these tires. I put these tires on these keystones. I put them on my 86 Camaro. And it's just funny that I had a set of tires on an antique car that were older than the car back when I was driving that car around in 2012, 2013. So I'd say that these 295 5015s definitely got their use. They're roached. They're no good anymore. They were in pretty good shape back when I had them on the car, but not anymore. So here's the game plan. Those wheels are coming off. We're gonna store them away, leave the tires mounted and balanced, all that good stuff. I gotta break these tires off, all 4 of them. 4th one's right there. Then we gotta jack this car up, dig out all this garbage, sort through it. But anyway, we're gonna take these tires. I'm not sure what size they are. I think they're maybe 275 5015s. But these are coming off, and those tires are gonna get mounted on the keystones. Then I've got a brand new set of Firestone Firehawk Indy 500 295 5015s. 4 of them. They're gonna go on this car all the way around. So I gotta take what, 2 sets of wheels plus a new set of tires down to my buddy's garage and use his tire machine. And oh man, it's probably gonna be a couple hours worth of work swapping all these tires around. And what I'm gonna do is, before I do any of that, is these need to be redone. So I'm gonna take, this is what you want when you're gonna do this. If you're ever gonna steel wool chrome, you want the quadruple zero, the finest stuff they make. So I'm gonna put these up on a body stand, and I'm gonna get them hosed down. I'm gonna scrub them up real good with steel wool while I'm hosing them down. And I'm gonna repaint the black inserts, freshen them up a little bit. And I've got a basket on the hood of the wagon right now with lugs and washers that I know will fit, because I already test fitted a wheel on this car earlier this morning off camera. The lugs are not in the greatest shape, but they're not terrible either. So I'm gonna steel wool these and clean everything up the best I can. I've got 4 lugs for each wheel, and then I've got 4 locking lugs for each wheel, plus the lock, thank God that's in there, and then 20 washers. So let's get started on this project. All right, so I got these 2 done, quote unquote. Did this one first. I did this one wet. I hosed it down and I used steel wool and scrubbed it while I kept hosing it down. And I didn't like how that was working. So I did this one dry. I steel wooled everything I could dry, and then I hosed it down, and it came out a little better, and it actually dulled this paint down really good. I want to go back and hit that again. I need to add that since these wheels are so trashed when they were on that 59 Olds, I actually did what I'm doing to them now back in 09, before they went on my Cordoba and my Camaro. So this black paint is my doing. I cleaned these up, waxed them real good, and I painted black inserts years ago, but it needs to be redone. There's a slight issue I might run into. I believe the turbine wheels on the Trans Am to be 15 by 8s, and these rear wheels are 15 by 8s. But I was looking at the back side of the rim when I was scrubbing it up, and the fronts are 15 by 7s. The tires that are on the Trans Am are 275 50/15s, and I know that they'll fit on a 15 by 7, but it's gonna look downsy because the backs will look all right because they're on an 8-inch rim. But when you put them on the 7 inches in the front, they're probably gonna bulge. And it wouldn't be bad if they bulged all the way around the car, but if you have the backs looking all right and just the fronts bulge, the car might look like it's on the spectrum a little bit. So I'm gonna try it anyway. I know they'll work. I know you can mount 275s to a 7-inch rim, and it's not dangerous. It just looks stupid. So I'm not, why buy tires when I got good tires? So show them what's going on. I just want to show off the power of steel wool, what it can really do. If you look at how oxidized this one lug nut is right here on the left compared to the one on the right, it's tedious to do 20 of them, but it's not the worst. But man, what a difference. Look at that. You can see the blue sky, and you can even see the clouds in the sky on that one on the bottom, and you can't see shat on the one on top. See, it looks like tinfoil. But the easiest way I found to do this is to just put the wool down like this and just clean the head up. And then take like this and just go like this. Rotate it. You got, it's a hexagon, so you got 6 sides to work with. But yeah. Looking good. Center caps are shined up, looking good. I only got 3. I gotta order another one. And I don't know if they sell them solo or if I gotta buy 4. So if I buy 4, then I'm gonna have 3 spares, but that's what I came up with. That's just steel wool in them. Real good, and hosing them off. I'm not done, obviously. Came out all right. I'd say that the 2 worst wheels are that one right there and this one over here. The one I had by the garbage can earlier that you couldn't see that good. This one's pitted up pretty bad. So I think, being that that's the worst wheel we have, I'm gonna put that on the passenger front because the passenger fender's smashed in. So why not put the worst wheel with the worst body panel, you know what I mean? So still gotta let them dry out all day, and then I gotta tape them up and I gotta paint the black inserts, and then they should look a lot better. Put the center caps on them, change the tires over, and put them on. Hopefully it looks good, but honestly, anything's got to look better and cooler than what it does right now. But just the Ogie Fogey wheels and the white walls, ugh. The only thing is that's got a very tall sidewall on it, and 50 series tires aren't that tall, so it's probably going to sit a little bit lower to the ground, and hopefully it doesn't have too much wheel gap. I don't know if I'm going to get around to painting those wheels today. It depends on how well they dry out and how fast. But whether that be today or tomorrow or sometime next week, you'll see it right after this clip. All right, we're on day 2, and we've been out here all day, and that's what happened. I painted them yesterday and untaped them. I say it looks pretty good. A lot better than it was. That took like 2 hours to get off of that one. There's that one. I got these off. He's trying to unseize the brake caliper that's been locked up for like a year.
I got 2 minutes involved in it.
And then instead of using jack stands in the front because of how crowded it is in here, and I couldn't get the car up high enough to put a big jack stand in, and the little ones, you'd have to max them out too tall. So the car would probably just fall forward and crash into that when you jack the rear end up. So I ended up putting these on just temporarily. And I can tell you this, that looks ugly as shit on this car. It's not even the fact that it's a drag slick or anything. It's just that Camaro wheels not work on this car at all.
It's a Camaro.
They look alright on the Z, but not on the second gen. Turbine wheels are the only way to go on these cars. So now I gotta gather up all this junk, and we're gonna go over to my buddy's house, and we're gonna run a tire machine to make life easier, because the 2 front tires came off real easy. The big 295 that is probably 37 years old at this point, because I think it's from 84, that took 2 hours to get off on this little tiny bead breaking machine.
No.
That took more than 2 hours.
No, it didn't.
Harry, how long were you here working on this with him? At least an hour. Yeah, at least an hour.
No, half hour.
He's bad with time. So yeah, anyway, that took about 2 hours, and I'm not doing that again. And then if that tire being as tall as it is gonna be a problem, then all these 275s are gonna be the same problem, because the tire is just too thick for this machine to work. So. All right, so we're now on day 4. Day 3 was yesterday. That was over at my buddy's house. We had to use his truck and bring all the wheels and tires over there to use his tire machine. And that other 295 was still didn't want to come off that wheel with it using a tire machine, but we got it. So now today's day 4. All the tires are back here. They're mounted and balanced. And I put 3 out of 4 of them on the wagon so far. I want to show you how bad the original wheels look against these. We've had this car for 5 years, and right when we bought it, Dad rushed and put white wall tires on the factory wheels. And they just did not complement the car very well. They looked all right when the car was new and it was in a suburban driveway, you know what I mean? But now they're bland and boring, and they give the car no attitude. So let's see what it looks like with the Keystones. Look at that. They're 275 50/15s. These are the tires that were on the Trans Am turbine wheels. The suspension is still sitting up a little high because it hasn't been driven on the road to settle it. That is the look that this car has needed for the last 5 years of our ownership. They're not in the greatest shape, but then again, look at the car that they're on. And then if you come over to this side, well, if you look underneath, you can see how fat the driver's side is versus what was on the passenger side. And as noted, there's a 15x8 deep dish in the back and 15x7 normal stagger in the front. Now if you come to this side, against the factory wheel that has a mile of space in between the tire and the quarter panel, looks terrible. But look at that tire versus the one on the front. The front tire actually sticks out further now than these did in the back. Here's a fun fact: station wagon B-bodies use a slightly wider rear end than the sedans. So even having a wider rear end in the back of the car, the front still sticks out further than the factories did. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on. And then we got to take it for a test drive. He got the caliper unseized. It was a slider for the e-brake. It's just been sitting so long that it didn't want to release. And here's the Trans Am wheels with the big fat 295s on them all the way around. They still need to be washed up before they go back on the car. the back sides of them are filthy. Like, and they're supposed to be white, and they will be white once they're washed. And you can definitely see the inside of the wheels when you drive behind it at night, so that needs to be cleaned up. The blue stuff needs taken off the white lettered tires. And anybody that's concerned about running 295s all the way around on the car, you used to run 295s on the front anyway.
All the way around.
Yep, no problems, no ground clearance, no scraping.
Well, I did raise the front end up 1.5 inches, and with the air shocks in the back, that's up another 3 inches.
But you don't really lose any turning radius.
Not at all. I don't lose any turning radius, it's all there.
And by having to have fat tires, this thing's like a magnet on the road, and the car has 0 lateral roll through the turns. It's like if you drive over a penny, you know if you hit the heads or tails on it. It's a backbreaker if you're driving it too long. So yeah, it's a 301 turbo, and it's not the fastest car in the world, but it rails through the corners.
It's same horsepower as a Pontiac 400, only a couple 100 pounds lighter.
Yeah, and his isn't exactly tuned to factory spec. What do you got, the timing jacked up for Cam 2 fuel?
Yep, got the wastegate changed on the boost, so we went from 8 to like 13, 14 pounds. It's up that high. So we could.
Well, it breaks the tires loose when you shift from first to second gear. Actually, I think it broke tires loose from second to third gear the one day using a slapstick. And the tires were slightly deflated then too.
That was first to second. I was the only one didn't know I was down to 20 pounds of air on the tires. Because I didn't bother checking the air.
Yeah, it wound out first gear, punched the stick over to second, and it broke both back tires loose. So it's not as slouchy as they were from the factory by any means.
No, I probably picked up about 30 more horse at least.
So yeah, that's gonna wrap this part of the series up. I'm gonna put that other wheel on and we're gonna drive the thing around. And I do want to get some other shots of the car, not in my driveway, boxed in by junky Mustangs and Rivieras. But I think it looks way better than it ever has.
More gooder.
Yeah, more gooder. All right, let's take this thing for a ride. Start it up. Put the GoPro head strap on you while you drive this thing around. So, drove probably 3.5 miles down the street from my house over to my uncle's house, and it looks good. But the first thing I noticed when I got out of the car, because I wanted to look at it, because, you know, new wheels on the car, you're gonna stare at it all day long. I stepped out of the passenger door and I looked down at the back wheel. And I'm like, oh, great. Yep. Center cap fell off. So I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. So now I'm gonna run home and I've got one more center cap as a spare. And I'm gonna pop that on. And hopefully I don't lose any others. But if I do lose any others going down to Ocean City, it's probably gonna be this one. I got Krager caps in the back. And I got keystone caps in the front. And the reason I did that is because I only had 3 keystone caps. And I wanted, I had 3 keystone caps and 4 wheels. So I managed to get 2 Krager caps off my buddy Zach. And I just lost one of his caps. So I'm gonna throw that 3rd keystone cap on there and hopefully they stay. But man, that's irritating. Drive the car 3 miles after doing all that work and boom, already lost a cap. Well, it's gonna wrap this episode up. We're over at Chris's house and I put that center cap on, the one last keystone cap that I had. I'm not worried about that one coming off. I'm just worried about this other Krager cap because on the back side of all the keystone caps, they give you a big round plate that fastens, gets sandwiched together with a screw. And for some reason the Kragers give you just this little L shape, or this just straight little bracket. And the bracket wasn't enough to bite the rim and it lost it, so that better stay. But anyway, we're getting ready to go to Ocean City and I'm going to be filming a lot while I'm down there, so you guys can look forward to that, and you'll probably be watching this episode while I'm down there. So I'll see you guys later, and have fun.